When you're scrolling through a sea of pre-built gaming rigs, it's easy to feel a little hesitant. What if you spend a lot of money and end up with a machine that's either overkill for your needs or underpowered for the titles you want to run? I'm here to walk through the real-world experience of the ASUS ROG Strix GL10DH so you can decide if it truly matches your gaming and everyday workload. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about why a pre-built matters in the current market. Building a PC yourself can be rewarding, but it also means hunting for compatible parts, dealing with BIOS updates, and potentially hitting supply shortages for graphics cards. The GL10DH arrives fully assembled, with the operating system already installed, which saves you the hassle of a first boot nightmare. That convenience is a big part of its appeal, especially if you don't want to spend a weekend troubleshooting. The heart of this machine is an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X. In everyday use, you'll notice that multitasking feels smooth. Web browsing with dozens of tabs, video calls, and a game running in the background don't cause the system to stutter. For gamers, the real test is how it handles modern titles at 1080p and 1440p. Paired with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 Super, the PC consistently hits solid 60+ frames in demanding games like Cyberpunk 2077 on medium-high settings, and climbs into the 90+ range on titles such as Valorant or Apex Legends. That performance envelope feels comfortable for anyone who wants competitive frame rates without stepping into the $2,000+ territory that a top-tier RTX 3080 build would demand. Storage is another practical consideration. The 512GB PCIe NVMe SSD loads Windows in seconds and gets most games up and running within a minute. If your library is modest or you lean towards streaming services and cloud saves, that capacity is enough. However, if you tend to keep a large collection of AAA titles installed simultaneously, you'll notice the drive filling up quickly. Adding a secondary HDD or a larger SSD later is straightforward because the case offers extra bays, but it does mean you'll have to plan for that upgrade if storage is a priority. Thermal performance is something a lot of reviewers skim over, but it directly affects long gaming sessions. The GL10DH uses a proprietary cooling solution that channels air through a front intake and out the rear, with the RTX 2070 Super's blower design helping to keep GPU temps under control. In my own testing, the GPU hovered around 70°C during extended 30-minute gaming runs, and the CPU stayed in the low 80s under full load. That's respectable for a compact tower, and means you won't be hearing an alarming fan whine after a couple of hours of play. One feature that often gets praised in marketing material is the Aura Sync RGB lighting. In practice, it's a modest strip that you can sync with other ASUS peripherals, creating a unified aesthetic if you're already invested in that ecosystem. It's not a showstopper, but it does add a bit of personality without draining a noticeable amount of power. For gamers who enjoy a bit of visual flair, it's a nice touch. For those who don't care, you can turn it off in the software without any impact on performance. Now, who should actually consider buying this rig? If you're a mid-range gamer who wants a rear display system that can handle the latest releases at 1080p high settings and still deliver a solid experience at 1440p, the GL10DH hits the sweet spot. It's also a good fit for content creators who need a capable CPU for video encoding while still being able to run a game in the background for stream overlays. The inclusion of Wi-Fi 5 means you can go wireless without pulling an Ethernet cable, which is handy for dorm rooms or home offices where cabling is messy. On the flip side, there are clear cases where this machine might not be the best investment. If you're targeting 4K gaming at max settings, the RTX 2070 Super will start to show its limits, and you'd be better off looking at a system with an RTX 3080 or newer. Likewise, if you already have a large SSD and want a massive storage pool out of the box, you'll need to budget for an upgrade. Finally, the tower's design is somewhat compact, which can make future upgrades a bit tighter compared to a full tower case. If you anticipate swapping in a larger graphics card, or adding multiple drives down the line, you'll need to measure carefully. A practical weakness that shows up after a few weeks of use is the lack of USB-C ports on the front panel. The rear panel does include a couple, but reaching around the back of a desk to plug in a headset or external drive can be inconvenient. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you rely heavily on the newer connector standard. Additionally, the system ships with Windows 10 Home. While that's perfectly adequate for gaming, power users who need Windows Pro features, like BitLocker or Remote Desktop, will have to purchase an upgrade separately. Overall,